Hello, Dr. Anoop Singh Sandhu. Today I am going to know something about the PAU because you were the senior professor at PAU in the Department of Extension Education, and you have started many innovative projects regarding extension education. So can you briefly tell me what were those projects and in which year they were started?
So the first project that we started was a Kisan Mela. I joined my MSc in 1963. We were 4 class fellows. Dr. Sol gave us a project to work as group project for all 4 of us. We thought about it, and after 2 days we decided to hold block Mela for Community Development Block Ludhiana, which was attached to our department. We all requested all the Gram Sevaks of that block to bring at least 10 farmers. As a result, about 500 farmers arrived there. That was in 63 September.
Okay.
And everybody was so happy that they encouraged us. So the next thing that we did was to hold a block Mela, district Mela for Ludhiana. So we approached the Deputy Commissioner of Ludhiana. He wrote a letter to all the BTPOs authorizing them that they can spend money on hiring buses to bring at least one full of farmers, one bus at least. As a result, about 5,000 farmers arrived at the Ludhiana District Kisan Mela. Encouraged by that, the university started state-wise Kisan Mela from next year. So it is still going on. So that was our idea to start a Kisan Mela for the university. The second thing was that there was used to be a project of what we call package of practices at Ludhiana. So the university was responsible for research, and the extension was to be done by the Department of Agriculture. So I wrote a note to the Director of Extension Education that if we want that university's research finding should be accepted by the department officials and they should pass it on to the farmers, then we should organize a meeting of both the university as well as the officers of the Department of Agriculture. So as a result, the first agriculture officer workshop was held in September 1965. At that time, almost all the specialists of the university covered the whole crop. Like if an agronomist came, he talked about soil, about agronomy, about plant protection and everything. Then he came to plant protection, he also covered everything, right from varieties and agronomic practices and plant protection. Then I was in charge for organizing that workshop. So I wrote a note that in the next workshop, only entomology should cover only entomology, agronomy should cover only agronomy, soil science should cover only soil science. So that was done as such in the workshop that was held in February 1966. Since that, it is still being followed. Then, while I was selected for a PhD program at the Ohio State University, I went to see Dr. Wood, who was a responsible person from State University of Ohio at the PAU, and I wanted to meet him. Somebody was already there, so I saw pamphlets lying on his office. So I saw one pamphlet, Farmers Training Through Correspondence. So I read that and I came back and made a scheme to organize 1-year farmers training in agriculture through correspondence. That time the correspondence courses were never available in India in any subject. So we started, then little later we also added a 1-year farmer training course for veterinary and animal sciences. So it is still going, it was going on for at least 10-15 years. Now the correspondence courses are available throughout the country. There are universities that are but we were the one who introduced this in the whole country.
And that's how you have also visited many countries and worked in the international organizations for the development of agriculture. Can you briefly tell me what are the organizations where you worked in the foreign countries?
I first went to University of Basra in Iraq and taught. I became the professor and head of the department, and I taught courses there. Then I went to University of Liberia in West Africa for about 4 or 5 years. I taught the students for BSc Agriculture and organized extension training courses. From there, then I was selected in one of the international agriculture research centers. At that time it was called West Africa Rice Development Association. Now it is labeled as Africa Rice Center. So I was extension director for all 16 countries. So we are used to organize adaptive trials for all the research findings that the rice growing systems. We used to have 4 rice growing systems. One was irrigated rice, the second was upland rice, which we call dry land rice. The third was mangrove swamp rice, growing rice in salty water, furnished by the sea. And the fourth was deep and floating rice. So I used to have adaptive trial for all these different types of rice cultivation in all the 16 countries. And we used to present, and then we have to develop strategy to transfer these findings to the farmers. So rice cultivation and growth production increased about 3 times during my time.
Dr. Can you please give some advice to our young PAU graduates who are all over the world regarding extension education and the work they are doing in agriculture? Can you briefly give some advice to them?
I would still like to mention one more thing. At the PAU, I became professor of extension training. We used to organize courses for farmers, for in-service courses for gram sevaks, for agriculture inspectors, for agriculture officers, and I also introduced courses for young farmers in carpentry and masonry, in addition to piggery, poultry, and dairy courses. So that was for school dropouts. They can start carpentry and masonry through mechanized systems. So then I also brought farmers from UP and from Bihar and organized courses there here at PAU. And ultimately it turned out to be the world's greatest, largest extension training center. And 2 of my journalism students, whom I have taught journalism, at one time there was no professor of journalism, so for 1.5 years I became the teacher for them. So after completing their courses, they published articles that the PAU has the largest extension training center in the world. So when I went to Africa, I applied for a UNO job, and I attached copies for those articles. As a result, I was offered a job there, as well as not only in although the job was in P2, but they offered me in P4, which is the highest scale. So that was the contribution of the work that I had done at PAU. So there, after that, about 6 years, the project ended. So I applied for another UNO job and got it. But unfortunately, the government of India refused for me to accept that job. I don't know why, they were just foolish. So I came back to PAU and again taught students for 4 years. And I also wrote 2 books, one on extension planning and the other on agriculture communication. They were published in 1992 and they are still being bought throughout the country by extension students. Now 25 editions of those books have been published. Recently, I published one book on the life of Sahir Ludhianvi. That book has become so popular both in English and in Punjabi that there is no country in the world which does not telephone me and ask me. That is an excellent book. So that is what. But about the advice that I can give to the student is to work hard.
Yeah.
There is no alternative.
Yeah.
Since I worked hard and always got 4 out of 4 in MSc, 4 out of 4 PhD at Ohio State University,
Yeah.
also in IARI, Delhi, 4 out of 4. As a result, wherever I applied, I was offered the job. And nobody could say that you are not qualified. So
Okay.
that's what I see. Work hard
Yeah.
and always get job on merit. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sir, for today's your talk with me. Thank you again. I'll see you sometime again. Thank you very much.